This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. A missing persons case is dramatically developing into a murder investigation tonight. Risdon Vale man Dwayne Davies hasn't been seen since Friday. Forensic police are now swarming on two properties linked to the investigation, but believe he has been killed. Two people are in custody.
The quiet rolling hills of Elderslie, the scene of a murder investigation. This property in the Southern Midlands scoured by forensics this afternoon. Police are trying to find 47-year-old Dwayne Davies, missing since Friday.
We've conducted a number of investigations since Friday. All those investigations point towards that Mr Davies has been killed. This
home in Risdon Vale was also the target of detectives today. Officers methodically collecting items that could be used as evidence. Of particular interest, a silver Hyundai Tucson and a white Nissan Navara. Police want to hear from anyone who saw them on Friday or Saturday near Risdon Vale, New Norfolk, Pelham, Broadmarsh, Elderslie or anywhere in between.
We want to stress that any sighting at all or any detail, no matter how insignificant it may be thought it is, that it may well crack our investigation.
Detectives here at the scene couldn't reveal the full circumstances of Mr Davies' disappearance, including exactly who reported him missing.
At this stage it's too early to comment on motives in relation to the investigation. We're really focused on these vehicles to help us get to the next step in our investigation.
A 40-year-old man and 44-year-old woman known to the victim are being interviewed by police. They haven't been charged. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
The coroner has delivered findings over the violent deaths of two men. 33-year-old Alexander Flockhart and 34-year-old Damien Pauly were found dead in a Bridgewater home in November 2014. Coroner Olivia McTaggart found both men were killed by each other in an altercation involving a gun and a knife. The coroner said it is still unclear what led to the fight, but confirmed the evidence suggests no one else was involved in their deaths. Fire gutted a home in Glenorchy this afternoon. Emergency crews were called to the Tolosa Street property just after 4 and found the house fully alight. Police have been unable to confirm if there was anyone inside at the time. The cause of the blaze is being investigated. Two men are facing charges over an arson spree in Sandy Bay yesterday morning. 3 vehicles were set on fire in the early hours, just streets apart. One blaze damaged the side of a house. Police say a 30-year-old Brighton man and a 19-year-old Orielton man are now facing several charges, including unlawfully setting fire to motor vehicles. Detectives are calling for witnesses as they continue investigating the fires. A Beaconsfield man has pleaded not guilty to a child sex offence. Grant Adrian Wykes appeared in the Launceston Magistrates Court this morning. He's accused of communicating with intent to procure a person under 17 years to engage in an unlawful sexual act. It's alleged he committed the crime between December last year and this April by sending electronic messages. Mr Wykes was granted bail and will next appear in the Launceston Supreme Court on July 24. The state government is attacking the opposition's alternative budget as leaving a multi-million-dollar black hole that will see Tasmania slide back into deficit. But as Labor disputes the claim, both sides of politics are being criticised for ignoring inherent problems within the state's health system.
Labor's reduced budget surplus ringing alarm bells for the government.
And fittingly, it is covered in red ink because that's exactly what it represents, Madam Speaker.
Claims yesterday's alternative budget has left a multi-million-dollar black hole, failing to properly finance the Northern Prison proposal with an allocation of $40 million.
$137 million was the costing back in 2013 to build a northern prison, around $30 million worth of recurrent expenditure.
There's a $150,000 provision in our economic direction statement just to scope exactly where the facility should be and exactly what the most appropriate facility is, and then to get on with construction.
Health again dominating question time, with complaints code yellow requests have been refused in the Royal Hobart Hospital. It's after the Nurses Union raised the concerns, with patient escalation regularly reaching a tipping point.
Senior clinicians in the hospital's emergency department personally requested a code yellow be called on 3 occasions because they were simply unable to cope with patient demand.
We will not interfere in decisions that are made by clinical managers and those with experience.
Tasmania's AMA president not surprised by the calls for help, patients themselves feeling a workforce under pressure.
But clearly, if our hospitals are at the highest level of escalation on a daily basis, there does need to be a further response built into the system to address those issues.
So you walk in there, they're running around all over the place. I don't know how they're doing the job they're doing now, but it's not very good. You can feel the tension in the building.
The code claims have been denied by the Health Service, but as health looks to be a major election issue, it seems neither party is delivering.
Tasmanians shouldn't continue to accept poor performing hospitals and poor access to care within their hospitals.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
There are once again calls for the Australian Federal Police to be reinstated at the Hobart Airport in light of recent global tragedies. A Tasmanian politician taking the argument to Canberra, saying if there is an incident, blood will be on the federal government's hands.
It's been 3 years since the AFP were withdrawn from the Hobart Airport. Now those pushing for a reinstatement say enough is enough.
There's no security down there at the moment. I've been in and out of the airport all the time. There is no security. We've asked for them back since the day they left. I used to work down there. I know what the work involves, and we just want them back.
Andrew Wilkie taking the issue straight to the Prime Minister. He claims the AFP's recent $500 million federal funding boost should mean Tasmania gets its fair share.
The decision to withdraw the AFP from Hobart Airport was foolish and dangerous, and there's no good reason to not remedy it now, seeing as the government's just boosted the AFP's budget.
But the Prime Minister says the threat environment in the state doesn't require national officers.
I've spoken today again to the Deputy Commissioner National Security of the Australian Federal Police, and he's advised me that the risk profile has not changed.
No, I don't think the terror risk in Hobart or Tassie has increased, but that's got nothing to do with it. There's a responsibility of the federal government. They don't take their responsibility seriously.
Hobart is the only capital city in the country to not have a federal police presence at its airport, despite just experiencing its busiest year on record. But those fighting for the reinstatement say they won't be giving up.
Mr Wilkie's right, but it's going to take more than him. It needs all political parties to give it to the federal government and get it sorted.
If there is a tragic incident at Hobart Airport, then the blood will be on this federal government's hands.
Monica Dadson, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian family has told how their son's life was saved thanks to a ventilator funded by Give Me 5 for Kids. The 2017 campaign kicked off at an official launch this morning, with Tasmanians asked to give what they can.
A bright and early start for those at the campaign launch breakfast. Give Me 5 for Kids raises money for equipment at the children's wards in Launceston and Hobart. 3-year-old Jeremiah was born with a serious medical condition, but donations have helped to save his life.
One of the ventilators that he was on, that he needed to survive when he was born, was actually funded by Give Me 5 for Kids.
Matilda is 8 and stays in hospital for 10 days every 12 weeks to treat her cystic fibrosis. Her father Todd says beds donated for parents to stay overnight in the hospital makes it more homely. So homely, Matilda sometimes doesn't want to leave.
Because it's really fun.
It's not the most comfortable place to sleep, but by having those beds that were refurbished, it does make it a little bit more comfortable.
The campaign began 15 years ago, and in that time it's raised $2 million. This year, Triple M, Hit and Southern Cross Television hope to raise more than $500,000 statewide.
And talking to the staff at the Royal Hobart Hospital, they tell us that this is equipment they just cannot fit into the budget, but they desperately need. So that's where the community can come in, and the community's been amazing.
It really helps with every day we use this equipment.
OBS and checking your blood pulse.
This Friday, Tasmanians are encouraged to don their pyjamas to school or work to raise money for the campaign. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Almost a year on from Tasmania's devastating floods, the committee reviewing the natural disaster will tomorrow hand over its final report to the state government. The floods washed through the state last June, claiming 3 lives. The review board was set up to look at the cause and whether cloud seeding contributed. It was also expected to review the use of forecasting alerts and the overall response. The probe was estimated to cost around $400,000. A trial for a waste management system for Tassal fish pens in Macquarie Harbour has today been given the green light by the Environment Protection Authority. Director Wes Ford says he's allowing the company to exceed today's set biomass limits of 12,000 by 4,000 tonnes per hectare if it can successfully collect waste from underneath its pens.
I've approved a trial for 4 weeks for Tassal to use 5 units in Macquarie Harbour while they're proving up the final designs of their waste collection systems.
Huon Aquaculture isn't impressed, claiming the decision is convoluted and risky. It says it is continuing legal action in the Tasmanian Supreme Court to challenge the validity of the final biomass decision. The upcoming Launceston 10 will double as a test run for a unique adventure group. Ahead of its official launch, Just Like Jack will enter children with a disability into the popular running race.
He's the brave boy with a big smile. Jack Duffy has one of the most severe forms of cerebral palsy. He's unable to use his arms and legs. But next month, with the help of his dad, he will compete in the Launceston 10.
For us to be able to give these kids that chance by providing chairs and providing people to help push these chairs is great.
With them, 5 other special needs children walking together under the banner Just Like Jack. The adventure group to be formally launched in August.
I'd love to see this go national, just to see the joy and exuberance on the faces of these kids that have never been able to do these things before is the biggest reward.
Jack has been on big adventures before. In 2015, he covered the overland track on his dad's back.
But this will be the first real outing with a number of children and families involved.
One of Jack's friends, 11-year-old Caitlin Stewart, will be part of the crew. Born 25 weeks prematurely, this walk will be a rare opportunity.
She enjoys going fast, and Mummy can't go fast. So Mummy walks and somebody else pushes Caitlin.
I don't push you, Mum, at all.
No, you don't push me at all.
The Launceston 10 is on June 18. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Dozens of volunteers are expected to make a commitment to a proposed railway upgrade in the state's northeast at a community meeting tonight. There are currently plans to turn the disused Launceston to Scottsdale line into a cycling path, but opponents of the project want to see the line restored to working order.
There's over 60 volunteers that have signed up at the moment, and like I said, we've got more people waiting in the wings. Unfortunately, a lot of people won't sign up until we get wheels on the rail, but once that happens, we know we'll get a lot more members.
A government-funded independent study is looking into the 2 development options. The Dorset Council has previously backed a cycling path, saying it will bring more people to the region. Tasmanians are being urged to build more wheelchair-friendly homes, with some builders claiming it's up to 20 times cheaper than retrofitting in the future. Paraquad Tasmania says universal access designs can keep the elderly and disabled in their homes for longer, easing the strain on our hospitals and aged care systems.
No steps, wider doorways and raised power points. They're just some of the basic design features in this display home at Newtown. It's designed to accommodate the needs of wheelchair users and those slowing down with age today, while reinforced ceilings and walls in key areas make the house adaptable to more complex needs in the future.
I call it future-proofing for houses. I mean, putting all these struts and everything in bathrooms when you're building a house is simple. You don't know what's going to happen 30, 40 years down the track with your health.
Builders Sharon and Peter Overton admit it adds to the overall cost during the initial build, but can save tens of thousands of dollars later. With a quarter of the state's population living with some form of disability, they're confident they've found a gap in the market.
What we like is that it just looks like a spacious home. It doesn't have to look clinical, and it can be functional and inspirational in its design.
And today's open home wasn't just about sales. As an access consultant, David Cawthorne was one of many people enlisted to give feedback on the Overton's design before work continues.
People are becoming more savvy now. Yeah, I think it's opening up people's eyes a lot more by providing access into everywhere.
Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
An acclaimed illustrator of words and letters took time out to speak with Tasmanian students today. Gemma O'Brien has collaborated with global brands including Nike and the New York Times. She says jobs are popping up in the industry as companies look for a competitive edge.
Pressure, the speed, the angle, now being able to be reproduced. Because it does kind of make a difference between stock standard design that you can pop out of a computer versus something that's been created by a human.
The top tip for students: to learn how to create designs from scratch rather than being influenced by what's already out there. The Hobart Chargers will take on the Ballarat Miners this weekend, with the winner set to claim outright first on the Southern Conference ladder. But there's still no word on when forward Tom Garlop will return from injury, leaving the home side in search of scoring options around the rim.
The dream run ended at the Deck last week. Now the Chargers are returning to a court where the Devils' dreams were made. They take on the Ballarat Miners on Sunday, a team that's won 3 on the trot. But Lewis Thomas says he's confident a 900-strong crowd will be the difference.
I've heard it's going to be really exciting. I mean, the crowd's going to be pretty crazy in here. I heard it, was the beginning of the Devils, and I think it's just the excitement around right now of coming back here and getting in here and playing, really.
Tip-off is at 2 p.m. The women tip off at noon and will have the stats firmly in their favour. Coach Dwayne Davey isn't dreaming too big just yet, but says the development of homegrown talent like Shana Thompson is a positive sign for the future.
Slowly but surely those girls are starting to step up and feel confident at this level, and our start to the season is testament to that. So hopefully that can keep improving, and you never know where we could end up from there.
Meanwhile, the Tawns will be the first to face the winless Miners on Saturday night. It's the perfect opportunity to bounce back from a disappointing double loss last week. But the coach is taking nothing for granted.
We know that they can play. They've taken it to teams this year and just fallen over at the end. They've got some very good players, so there's no way we can never be complacent.
Tip-off is at 6:30. In the weekend's final game, Northwest Thunder will have their chance at home against the Ballarat men's team at 8 p.m. Friday. Andrew McCarthy, Southern Cross News.
Good evening. Hobart 12 degrees, Launceston, Burnie and Devonport all 13. A memorable last day of autumn. 14 the maximum recorded by Eddystone Point after Ross had a doozy. -4 to start the day. Temperature of course below average, some up by 5 degrees below average. Flinders Island, Wynyard and St Helens all 13 degrees. King Island, Lowhead, Campania and Bushy Park 12. Lyawini -2. That was the low, but it did warm all the way up to 4. A band of high cloud is crossing Tasmania with low level cloud over southeastern Australia with a low pressure zone off the coast. Extensive cloud over Tasmania, heavier over the west and south. Tomorrow, a strong high-pressure system will move over Victoria, extending a ridge over most of the nation, a weakening front to the southwest of WA. West to southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, reaching up to 30 knots over the southeast. Lighter winds inland, swells at 4 metres in western and southern waters. Strong wind warning for that eastern region between Wineglass Bay and southeast Cape. For tomorrow, a partly cloudy 15 for Hobart, 14 for Cygnet and New Norfolk. Launceston, partly cloudy and 15, 15 also for Devonport, early fog for Campbelltown and 13 the top later. For Burnie, partly cloudy and 15, a shower or 2 for Strawn, 14 the top and 14 for Smithton with plenty of cloud cover. St Helens mostly sunny though, 16, 16 also for Swansea, Fingal 14 degrees. On Friday, showers over the west and far south, decreasing during the afternoon, morning fog and frost in the north. Fine on Saturday apart from light showers over the west and Bass Strait Islands, and on Sunday showers developing over the west, far south and Bass Strait, and maybe in the afternoon elsewhere. Sunny in Perth tomorrow along with Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane and Darwin. Partly cloudy weather for Melbourne, a top of 14 degrees, and a frost for Canberra and Alice Springs. Cloudy and 10 in Hobart, cloudy in Launceston too, just 6 degrees, in Devonport at the moment it's 7 degrees. Joe, too cold for me, I'm off to warm up somewhere.
You just got back from somewhere where you're warming up. Stay with us, Murph. That's all from the news team for now. Have a great evening. We'll see you with updates a bit later. Bye-bye.